If you haven't been living under a rock for the past few years, you've probably heard the name Ja Morant, the 23-year-old bounty point guard leading the Memphis Grizzlies, who's giving a lot of people pre-injury D Rose flashbacks with his high-flying dunks while being relatively short for that style of play at a generous 6'3", and his flashy passes that make use of his speed as well as his basketball IQ. Ja, along with his similarly young supporting cast on the Grizzlies, including Jaren Jackson Jr., Dillon Brooks, Desmond Bane, and many more, made a huge splash last year and showed that they were ready to compete, earning a second seed in the West in the regular season despite the average age of the Grizzlies being 24 going into the season, a bit over 2 years below average. And while they may have taken advantage of a few top teams missing key players that year, they still showed up in the playoffs, getting to the second round and eventually getting eliminated by the Golden State Warriors 4-2, which is great against the eventual winners of that season, especially with Ja Morant getting injured in Game 3 of the series and being out for the rest of it. One thing is for certain, as young players generally get better with every year, Ja, along with his supporting cast in Memphis, are due to be huge threats in the coming years as they age and develop some more experience. The Grizzlies are set to have the best years of their franchise's history if Ja stays healthy and the front office manages to keep even half the young talent on the team. And while nobody can predict the crazy moves that get made in this league, if things go right for the Grizzlies, in the future we may even see Ja and the boys hosting the Larry O'Brien Trophy and getting the city of Memphis its first NBA championship if things go right for them. It hasn't always looked this promising in Memphis. But don't get me wrong, ever since relocating to Memphis in 2001 from Vancouver, the team actually has more seasons where they made the playoffs than not, with a record of 12-9. So the Grizzlies are definitely no Sacramento Kings. However, most of these playoff runs ended in a first round exit, and the only times they made it past the first round before the modern era were during the legendary grit and grind years featuring Zach Randolph, Marc Gasol, Tony Allen, and Mike Conley. During the 2010s, everybody knew that the grit and grind Grizzlies likely weren't winning a championship. However, if you were a fan of a team in the West, you did not want to face Memphis in the playoffs. This team got its nickname Grit and Grind from the physical style of basketball that this team played, which would wear opponents out midway through the series as they weren't as big or physical as the Grizzlies' key pieces that made grit and grind work. Regardless of if they won championships or not, this team was awesome to watch, as it was kind of like a team from the old school just got dropped into the 2010s era and kind of learned to shoot threes. That team also kind of personified Memphis, being known as a pretty tough city filled with big old Southerners. This was the pinnacle of Grizzlies basketball for a while, being the team that will always put up a good fight, and I mean that literally, but will likely lose when they get a bit too deep for themselves in the playoffs. Overall, the team was a success, and really put the Grizzlies on the map as a respected franchise. But as we know, all good things must come to an end. And it was a good end, with everyone going their separate ways after almost a decade of playing together and being menaces to society. The most legendary team in Grizzlies history was now a thing of the past, finally coming to an end when they traded Marc Gasol to the Raptors in 2019, after the team had been fading for a few years already. This is where it gets impressive. On the tail end of being a decent playoff team, the Grizzlies really only had 2 bad seasons, going 22-60 in 2017-18, then using that pick to draft Jaren Jackson Jr., who has unfortunately struggled with injuries in his first few years, but has still shown that he can be a solid two-way player on a winning team at this point, leading the NBA in block shots per game last year and also scoring a nice 16 points per game. The year after, they went 33-49 and drafted Ja Morant with the second pick. And right away, the Grizzlies knew they had something special in Ja, having him play 31 minutes per game right out the gate his rookie season. And he really took to the challenge, and had a great rookie season, putting up amazing numbers for a raw, skinny 6'3" point guard. And he ended up winning Rookie of the Year due to his unreal performance, even beating out his old high school teammate and media darling at the time, Zion Williamson. He was still a bit raw for a couple years, but so is almost every rookie. And it only took Ja until his third season to start putting up near elite numbers and solidifying himself as the man in Memphis. These 2 picks alone are great building blocks for a team, but that's not where it ends for Memphis. Ja and Jaren are surrounded by more young and energetic players in Desmond Bane, who had a breakout second year last year, averaging 18 points per game, Dillon Brooks, who averaged around the same in points, two-way player Brandon Clark, who in his third season last year averaged 10 points, a block, and 5 rebounds per game, and a great backup point guard in Tyus Jones, who did pretty well in the times Ja was injured, and did great stat-wise for only playing around 20 minutes a game. When you look at all these young players who definitely have bright futures in the league with all their development lining up and good chemistry, it's hard to see how this team wouldn't be a threat for years to come. But only time will tell if this team will grow and thrive with minimal egos like Golden State, or if it will turn into another 2012 OKC with all the potential in the world, yet egos and salary cap issues bring it down.
After the run Memphis went on last season, they established themselves as one of the top contending teams in the West. And as it seems the team is running it back with the exception of D'Anthony Melton for Danny Green, and this young team still finding out its identity, the results should only be improved from here on out. And after a really interesting series with the eventual champion Warriors, they've proven themselves to be capable of stepping up in big game moments. And looking at their star player Ja Morant, who's managed to improve and add to his game with each season he's been in the league, and considering he won Rookie of the Year award on 17.8 points, 3.9 rebounds, and 7.3 assists, I'd say he had a pretty good starting point. But as the seasons went on, Ja kept improving his stats all the way up to 27.4 points, 5.7 rebounds, and 6.7 assists, which he was able to accomplish in this previous season. And that was also enough for him to take home the Most Improved Player of the Year award, making him the first player in league history to win both Most Improved Player and Rookie of the Year award. Which seems a little odd. Ja must have thought so as well, so he humbly gifted the award to his teammate Desmond Bane. Looking at his numbers, Ja has seen a dip in his assists, as he has become more confident in finding and creating his own shots by driving through the lane at the basket. But that's not the only thing to decline every year since him entering the league. He's also been missing more games, beginning in his rookie year, playing in 67 games, then falling down to 63 in his second year, and now falling all the way down to 57, due to Ja having many injuries around his knees and his ankles, which has put a lot of fans on notice, as on top of the injuries, fans have noticed a similarity in game between Ja and a prime Derrick Rose, being an instant all-star out of the gate, carrying a team on your back all the way to the playoffs, while also having crazy bounce that keep even 7-footers on notice of being put on a poster. But it was that same explosiveness that ended up leading to Rose's tragic injury. So if Ja wants to stay healthy throughout his entire career, he may need to consider working with some trainers to learn how to properly launch and land on his athletic dunks, which would help. But the truth is, players in this era are suffering way more injuries due to increased athleticism and the pace of the game today. And that brings up an argument that many players are posing as a fix to these injuries and load management stints: a shortened season, which seems to be something Adam Silver has actually been open to. After switching away from a mid-season tournament that was his solution to help incentivize players to compete throughout the entire season, as that didn't seem to be popular among fans or players. But it is clear that Silver needs to do something, as the decline of the league's major stars playing in regular season games has made some of the casual fans lose interest in the league completely. With the league planned to sign a new broadcasting deal that would start in 2025, I'm sure that the shortened season most likely wouldn't be added until this current contract expires. So it seems load management may be the best course for Ja, which at the end of the day doesn't seem to be a problem for the Grizzlies, as they managed to win 20 out of the 26 games they played without Ja this season. The Grizzlies front office has been able to put together a team of young players that have been able to build a strong chemistry to the point they've been able to carry the weight of a team without a true star, even pulling out a 39-point win over the Warriors without Ja in Game 5 of this year's playoffs. With all of that in mind, Ja is clearly the heart of the team and a once-in-a-lifetime athlete. Hopefully he can manage to stay healthy and have a long career full of amazing highlight plays that help lead the organization to the first ever championship. Going into this year with Jaren Jackson Jr. expected to miss the beginning of the regular season after having surgery on a stress fracture in his foot, it might be rough going out the gates. But with players like Desmond Bane and possibly even Dillon Brooks primed to take another step forward in their career, it's hard to say what the team will look like for sure. But all arrows are pointing in a positive direction the closer that we get toward playoffs. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next upload.